Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bry-Fy Podcasts. I'm your host, Bry-Fy the Comics Guy, and this is episode 277 of the Bry-Fy Podcast. We're on the countdown to 300, and also the countdown to Comicpalooza. I think we are 25 days away from May 10th, and it's May 10th through the 12th. It's going to be a really awesome show, the largest comic book convention in Texas. Huge guests like Emilia Clarke, Grant Gustin. I can remember the Flash's name. Excuse me, and I'm still getting over my pneumonia. And if you guys remember on YouTube last week, there wasn't an episode. It's because of all the pneumonia and crap. And I'm finally kind of over it. I can breathe again, which is really great. And my cough is every so often, but now I got a runny nose. And I guess it's because it's all just coming out of my system or whatever. Anywho, no one wants to know about my gross medical history. They want to know about the nifty nerd news that I have for you guys this week. Up first, we're going to talk Suicide Squad again because they're hot and they're cold, they're yes and they're no, they're in, they're out, they're up and they're down. And yes, I can quote Katy Perry songs with the rest of them. Of course we've talked about how a bunch of actors who at first, none of them were returning because they're just going to do a whole new cast. And then you start having pretty much everyone start returning. And then Will Smith wasn't coming on, but Idris Elba was taking his place as Deadshot. Well, now that's not happening. Now Idris Elba, he's coming on still, but he's not replacing Will Smith's Deadshot. Now he's going to be a whole new character, which possibly means there's a potential for Will Smith to come back. Or maybe they just didn't want to taint. Well, not taint, because let's face it, Idris Elba is an amazing actor. But, they want to leave that open in case Will Smith, frees up his schedule or whatever. I don't know. It's just crazy. It's kind of getting ridiculous. Of course, the only thing that's really set in stone is a few actors coming back and that this movie's getting made. But we don't know too much else about that. So it's all still really fluid and all still really changing. And it's all still very, very, very annoying. But hopefully we get more concrete news going forward because we need it. God knows DC needs it because it's just, I don't know. It's not like they're doing bad or anything. I mean, their last 3 movies have been pretty solid hits, I would say. Or at least, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam has done surprisingly well. Of course, Suicide Squad did well, although maybe not critically, but it did make money. So it's getting a sequel, so there you go. So hopefully we'll see what happens soon with that movie. And then we can get on to what we all really want, and that's Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So James Gunn, hurry up and get your ass over here. Anywho, so next bit of news has to do with, of course, some trailer reveals, both of which are Star Wars related. First one I'll talk about is a new video game coming out from EA Respawn, and that is what was it called? Star Wars Jedi: The Fallen Order, which there was no gameplay footage, so kind of having but the cinematics and the story that it looks like they're telling looks really fantastic. It looks like it's taking place after Order 66 was given, and maybe some time after that, from what we can tell. So it's before A New Hope and after Order 66 was given. There you go. Great time frame there. Really, really solid stuff. But it looks awesome. It looks like you're following a Padawan, or maybe he was a young, just-turned Jedi, and he's in hiding now. And we see the fallout, what happens when he eventually has to out himself as a Jedi. And it looks really awesome. It looks like it's going to be a pretty cool action RPG type game. At least that's what the story has me believing. But we'll have to see going forward. But Respawn does some pretty cool games, man. I think they were the ones behind Titanfall. And am I right? I think I'm right. And I love Titanfall. Titanfall is one of my favorite games. So if they are, then this could be one of my favorite games. Just Titanfall with lightsabers. That's all I want, really. Anyway, the other Star Wars trailer reveal that we had was for the new Episode 9, the finale of the Skywalker saga. We've gotten 8 movies to deal with the Skywalkers. Now is the final one, the last testament, the what we've all been waiting for, the end. And it looks exciting. They don't really give you too much. We see Rey fight a TIE fighter with a lightsaber. We see, see, he's cheering because it was pretty badass. You see Chewbacca and Lando flying the Millennium Falcon. You see Leia talking to Rey at one point. Don't know what's going to happen there. Luke has like a disembodied ghost force voice, which is going to be interesting. We get the Emperor's laugh at the very end with not seeing him. And we also got what the movie's going to be called. And that was going to be called Skywalker Rises. What does that mean? What's going on? I have no clue. And the trailer doesn't really give you anything. It is super vague, shows a lot of cool action sequences, shows what looks to be some heartful moments, and that's really it. And it's got me kind of excited. It looks cool. I was really a big fan of JJ's first movie with The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi I still really liked, despite some of the problems I had plot-wise. My son as well will agree with me. And I'm hoping JJ closes it out really well and really puts an end to it. Not like the end of the Star Wars story, but really puts a solid, like, I'm satisfied with that, you know, like a finale, you know. I wanted to feel like the story's over. And that's what I really want to feel like with this movie. And hopefully we get that. We'll have to see. The last bit of news that I have for you guys today has to do with Disney and the coolness that is going to be Disney Plus. They are making you forget, oh yeah, we're becoming this mega corporation that's taking everything that you know and love and becoming kind of like, oh, we're a pretty cool mega corporation that is acquiring things that you love and making them better. That's what this seems like they're trying to tell us anyway. And with that, what I mean is they just announced all their Disney Plus stuff, how much it's going to be, which is $7 a month US. And they've announced they've confirmed things that we were all talking about, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier got confirmed, Scarlet Witch and the Vision, the Loki series, of course. We knew about the Mandalorian series that was going on. They talked about a animated Marvel What If storyline that they're going to be doing on there. One of the first episodes is going to be, what if Peggy Carter became Captain America? And I believe they said Steve Rogers would become the next Iron Man in that scenario. And it looks like they're going to get all the people who played the live action versions of the characters to come and voice those characters for the animated episode, which could be really awesome. And I'm really high hopes for that. And another series that they announced on the streaming platform is going to be The World According to Jeff Goldblum, which has me very intrigued and very scared in a awesome way. And so we'll see how that all works. They also announced when all this is planning to roll out, which is going to be later this year in November. So that's some really exciting stuff, and I can't wait for that because that's going to be soon. And with a price point of $7 a month, and they said you're getting like 7,500 television like episodes, 400 movies. All of the Star Wars movies will eventually roll out by the end of the year. The Marvel movies, The Simpsons will be streaming on it, and just other like, excuse me, other just original content, all that, all for $7 a month. And let's face it, half of why I watch Netflix is for the Disney movies and Marvel movies they have on it. I kind of can't not justify getting Disney Plus now. Like at first I was like, I don't really need it, or I have to pick and choose. But if it's going to be that low, you know, $7, that's not a lot, you know. It might force, who knows, Netflix might come down in price, because if they don't, they will probably lose people. And I'm not saying Netflix isn't good, because trust me, Netflix has some really great original content. It's just Disney better, man. And my son likes more Disney movies than anything else. So if I have to choose, I'm choosing Disney over Netflix. You know, so.
And Netflix is double the price. Double. We paid $14.99 for it.
Boom. Truth brought in by my wife. And then, oh, yep, okay. Bye. Anyway, more important stuff, guys, before I forget. We talked a little bit about Comicpalooza. I'm also in the podcast portion of the show reviewing Chelsea Kane, who is going to be a guest at Comicpalooza. She's a comic book writer. And well, she's also a novelist, but she did the Mockingbird series. the Mockingbird series, and I'll be reviewing that this week on the regular podcast. But I also want to give a shout out to all the other podcasts that are going to be at Comicpalooza. This is a huge list, well, a quite big list, so bear with me, but I do want to give all these people, these guys and gals, a shout out because they deserve it, and you guys deserve better podcasts to listen to than the Bry-Fy podcast. And so, of course, funny enough, I'm the first podcast listed on the, and it's not because of alphabet, because I was looking through this, and there is no alphabetical order, so I can only assume it's because they really, 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 really haven't listened to my podcast and have no idea how terrible I am.
Or it's freaking awesome, and you have a great logo, and
it's because of my wife. Like, they're just... she's number one.
They're ready to see Lilu.
That's what it is. Anyway, shout-outs to 3 Beers and a Mic, Nerdy Bitches, Nerd Food Podcast, Colt 45, Jenny Kelly, I Love Flavor, ScaryDad.com Podcast, Matinee Heroes, Metal Geeks Podcast, Critical Thinking Podcast, 30 Pop Podcast, Mind Fudge, Comedy Podcast. What is this one? There is no... B-roll.
There's no such thing as too much B-roll.
The B-roll, guys. Sorry about that. Comicast, Space Case Podcast, Bayou City Geeks, the Libra... I always fuck this one up. The Libra Lounge with Kaisha, Raging Nerds, Nerd Thug Radio, Dad and Daughter Read, the Disney Movie Review, the Father Gamer Podcast, Gentlemen No Class, I Am Geek, Cake Bites Podcast, Hi Hungry, I'm Dad Podcast, Honey, I Shrunk the Binge Podcast, Passion Nerdly Podcast, the Dragon Ballers Podcast, Nerd Flow Podcast, Movie Gap, Pop Culture Rewind Podcast, Random Ramblings with Rob. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Nerd News Now, Rawcast, The Most Epic Adventures, The Mundane and the Arcane, the Rebel Radio Podcast, Walker the Geek, Warlord Entertainment System Podcast, and Geeks 5 Ever.
Did you say The Most Epic Adventures?
Yes, The Most Epic Adventures. Okay. I think I said that. Anyway, those are all the podcasts that are a part of the Podcast Partnership Program. And I am spent, guys. So that's it for the YouTube portion of the podcast. Please listen to one of the podcast promos as we transition over to the regular podcast. So, bye. Peace. Get out of my house. Quit touching my face. I'm going to cough on you.